All right, so the first type of question that we could look at is one where it asks us to find the vertex and the y-intercept. If you remember, the way that we had to do these ones was using the completing the square. But you can't complete the square whenever there is a 2 out in front or whenever there's any coefficient out in front. So we first have to start this problem out by factoring a 2 out. So I'm going to pull a 2 out of every one of these terms. So that's going to give me x squared minus 4x minus 10 and now I can essentially just divide by the 2. So that's x squared minus 4x minus 10. And from here, I don't want to worry about this 0 so much anymore. But I'm now going to complete the square by grouping these two pieces together. So my b is the negative 4. So I do negative 4 over 2 squared. It gives me negative 2 squared, which is a positive 4. So it's x squared minus 4x plus 4 minus 10. And then since I added a 4 inside on this one, I have to subtract the 4 on the outside. So then here, because this was a negative 2 inside of here before I squared it, becomes x minus 2 squared. And then this is minus 10 minus 4. So that gives me minus 14. Oh, I made a mistake up here. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that. Up at the top, when I factored the 2 out, this should be a minus 5, not minus 10. Because I had to pull a 2 out of each one of those terms. So that's minus 5, minus 5, minus 5. That's better. So then now minus 5 minus 4 is minus 9. So now to find the vertex is just the opposite of this sign for the x. It's going to be a positive 2 and a negative 9. So my vertex is 2, negative 9. And then to find my y-intercept, it's just whatever this number was after I factored the 2 out. So that's going to be negative 5. Another way I could do this is to just do it in Desmos. So just graph it in Desmos and find my vertex and y-intercept. So that's our first one. The next problem is find the zeros of the function. So anytime it asks me to find the zeros, remember there are 3 ways I can do it. I can either factor, use the quadratic formula, or complete the square. In this case, I'm going to try to factor first. So what multiplies to give me a negative 24 and adds to give me negative 2? Well, what multiplies to give a negative 24? There's negative 8 and 3, negative 6 and 4, 2 and 12, and negative 1 and 24. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. So I know it's negative 6 and 4. X minus 6 and x plus 4. Break them up, set them both equal to 0. Gives me x equals 6 and x equals negative 4. And those are my two answers. All right, on to the next one. Write a quadratic function in standard form with zeros of negative 5 and 1. So if I'm doing this, it's kind of like working backwards from what I just did. So it's like I start with x equals negative 5 and x equals 1. And now I need to make this side equal to 0. So I have to get the 1 back to the other side. So subtract it. X minus 1 equals 0. Over here, I need to add the 5 to get it to the other side. It gave me x plus 5 equals 0. So it's x plus 5 as you can tell, I'm having some serious technical difficulties today. Times x minus 1. Now I distribute that x to both of these terms and the 5 to both of these. X times x gives us x squared. X times negative 1 gives us negative x. 5 times x is positive 5x. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. Combine our like terms in the middle. X squared plus 4x minus 5. And that's our final answer. Everyone good with that one? All right, so now we have 36x squared plus 25 equals 0. Notice there's no x term in the middle where it's just a number times x, which means that we can solve this by subtracting the 25 over to the other side. So that's minus 25 on both sides. Gives us 36x squared equals negative 25. Divide by 36. X squared equals negative 25 over 36. Now I take the square root of both sides. That square root's going to cancel the square out. Left with x equals plus or minus square root of negative 25 over 36. And now I have to break this down. Because there's a negative inside of there, it tells me that an I is going to come out in front. And I can take the square root of the top and the square root of the bottom. 25 is a perfect square. It's 5 times 5. And it's a negative 25. So that gives me plus or minus 25i. I'm sorry, 5i. Over 30, square root of 36. struggle is real over here. Square root of 36 gives me 6. So that's my final answer, plus or minus 5i over 6. Any questions there? Okay, solve the quadratic inequality, x squared minus 2x minus 8 greater than 7. So there's a couple different ways we could do this. First one was to use Desmos. And it's x squared minus 2x minus 8. And then to set an equation y equals 7. And see where they cross. Negative 3 and 5. I'm looking for where our quadratic is greater than 7. So that would be everything from negative infinity up to negative 3 and stopping, and then from 5 to positive infinity. The other way to do this one was to solve it algebraically. So I need to get everything on the same side. So I'm going to subtract the 7 over. It gives me x squared minus 2x minus 15 is greater than 0. And now I need to solve this. I'll use the quadratic formula. It's negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's a negative of a negative 2. So that's a positive 2 plus or minus the square root of 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 15 all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Two squared is 4. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4 times negative 15 is positive 60. So it's going to be 4 plus 60 over 2. 4 plus 60 is 64, and the square root of 64 is 8. So 2 plus or minus 8 over 2. 2 plus 8 is 10 over 2. 2 minus 8 is negative 6 over 2. 10 over 2 is 5. Negative 6 over 2 is negative 3. We have negative 3, 5. And now we have to pick some points. Negative 4, 0, and 6. Got to pick a point smaller than negative 3, between negative 3 and 5, and bigger than 5. So negative 4 squared is 16 minus 2 times negative 4 minus 8. We're just plugging these numbers into the original equation. This gives me 16 plus 8 minus 8. 8 minus 8, those cancel out. and so 16 greater than 7, which is true. So it works for the first one. For the second number, I'm going to plug 0 into the formula. 0 squared minus 2 times 0 minus 8 greater than 7. 0 minus 2 times 0, that's all 0. Negative 8 greater than 7 is not true. Lastly, I'm going to plug the 6 in. Go 6 squared minus 2 times 6 minus 8. 6 squared is 36. Minus 12 minus 8. 36 minus 12 is 24. 24 minus 8 is 16. 16 is greater than 7, so it works for this one. Takes us to the end. Where does it work for? Works from negative infinity to negative 3. Parenthesis on this because there's no equal sign under the inequality. Union. And then 5 to infinity. And that's our final answer. Any questions on that one? All right. Okay, this goes way back to the beginning of the chapter. Using f of x equals x squared as a guide, describe the transformation that yields f of x equals 1/2 x minus 9 squared plus 4. If you remember from the original section, if the number is multiplied and outside the squared, it means that it's a vertical stretch or a vertical compression. In this case, since it's a number less than 1, it's a vertical compression. So vertical compression by 1/2. If it's added or subtracted inside the parentheses, it makes it a horizontal shift. If it's a minus, it shifts to the right. If it's a plus, it shifts left. So this would be a horizontal translation to the right. I'll just say right 9. If it's a number added outside, it means that it's going to be a vertical shift up 4. If it was subtracted out there, it would be a vertical shift down 4. So then this would be a vertical translation up 4. That's all you'd have to do for that one. All right, find the zeros of k of x equals x squared plus 10x minus 200. See, I think I've already factored. We've already done the quadratic formula. Let's just complete the square for this one. So I have x squared plus 10x minus 200. Set that equal to 0 because I'm finding the zeros. Now to complete the square, I'm going to add the 200 to the other side. So x squared plus 10x, leave a space, equals 200. Now complete the square. Take my b value, 10, divided by 2, squared. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Squared is 25. Add 25 here and 25 here. On the left, this turns into x plus 5 squared equals 225. Now to get rid of my square, I take the square root, both sides. Gives me x plus 5 equals, and the square root of 225 is 15. So it will be a plus and minus 15. Now I subtract my 5. This gives me x equals negative 5 plus 15, and x equals negative 5 minus 15. Negative 5 plus 15 is 10. Negative 5 minus 15 is negative 20. And those are my two answers there. Any questions on that one? All right, this is a tough one. Identify the vertex of g of x equals x plus 14 squared minus 8. This is called vertex form. And the reason it's called vertex form is because we don't actually have to do anything. Just remember, it's the opposite of whatever this sign is in the same sign as this. So our vertex is negative 14 and negative 8. All right, and then this would be our last type of question. This would be a question talking about the discriminant. We mentioned the discriminant and what types of solutions. So basically, we just have to solve this. I've done the hard part putting it in the formula for the b squared minus 4ac. So that would have been our b, our 4, the a, and the c. So all you have to do is solve it and tell me what types they are. Negative 30 squared gives me positive 900. 4 times 9 times 26 gives me 936. I might have made that up. I was right. It's 936. I'm a genius. So that's negative 36. Now if I have a negative, remember if I'm looking for what types they are. If it's a positive, it would be 2 real solutions. If it's 0, it's 1 real solution. And if it's negative, like this one, it would be 2 distinct non-real complex. Or if you just told me 2 complex solutions, I'd be fine with that. And that is all the types of questions that will be on your test. Now, what questions do you have?